here we go. We're going to start on the seats. So the first thing to do is just get the rails off the bottom of the seat. And then we'll have to get the back taken away from the bottom. And then get this off. And then I think I can actually get to this and I can clean this and maybe paint it and make it look a little bit nicer and get rid of some of this rust and everything. And then just hope that the foam is good underneath. Okay, next part was to get this handle off. And it actually attaches to that piece right there. And I just took a screwdriver, put it up against this part, and just popped it off. Looks like it came off in one piece and it's pretty good. So it'll go in the bin for that. Now I just got to get this off. I'm assuming this probably just pops out, and then we can disengage that cable that goes down to here, and that way that when I take the seat back off, it'll come out. All right, so that's correct. This just pulls off. So the next thing now is to get that disconnected from the cable that runs down. And I don't know if you take out that spring. Let me see if I can get a little better angle for you and get some light in there. So I don't know if you take out this spring right here, or there's a, kind of see that hook that goes in through there. So I don't know if you can twist and bend this up and over that hook. I think that's what I'm going to try first, because that looks like maybe that's what it's supposed to do, but it's pretty rusty in there, so hopefully that works. Otherwise, I'll have to take that spring off. But I would think that that hook would come out just because then you don't have to fight with this trying to get this down and through the chair. But before I do that, I'm going to try to get it apart. Yeah. And maybe I can disconnect it down here and I don't have to worry about up here. But let's do that first. Let's get it disconnected first. Or at least get the bolts loosened up so I know I can loosen the bolts, because I'd hate to do this up here and then something happen. But in these, it's a shame it's just kind of cut, but like I said, the foam looks like it's in really good shape, what I can see. So we'll work on getting this off actually. All right, so this part pops off, and then you have this. It looks like you need to hammer this down and rotate this metal part so it can get into these fins right here, can get into the blank part right there, and then you should be able to pull this off. So we're going to try that next. Okay, that's exactly what you need to do, but you need to lean the chair all the way back so it's stiff enough that when you hit that, because when I did the first time, this just spun. So I tilted the seat all the way back, and that now allowed me to get that piece off. So those can go in the bucket. That comes off like that. All right, so it looks to me like the only thing holding this on are these two bolts, maybe. I don't see how I can get to... I don't see how I can get to my string, so I think it's got to come off from up here. Because I don't want to disconnect it and then snap the cable. So I think I got to work on getting it from up here. So let's see if I can do that. Well, while I was down here fooling around with this right here is where the cable comes in. And all I did was just go like this, and it popped up and out. So it is sitting right there right now. So it's disconnected. I got these loosened. I don't know if that shaft goes all the way through or not, but the screw on the other side, trying to loosen up, because I can't get those off because those are rivets. So that's not coming off. I tried turning that on the other side. I'll show you what it looks like here. Hold on. So I tried turning this, thinking, you know, maybe that's a screw or something, but no luck. So I'm wondering if that's that pole and it goes all the way through the seat. I don't know. Try to keep working on that, but I can't imagine that that's just screwed in there like that. I don't know why they wouldn't have put a bolt in if that's the case. So I have a feeling that this might go all the way through, which means I have to get that unlocked somehow. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. All right, that was screwed in there. And a few really good blows with the impact screwdriver, and it got out. I took those 2 bolts out from the other side, so I think this is all that's left, and I'll be able to get that back seat off. But if you don't have this in your toolbox, I just bought one from Harbor Freight. It was cheap, maybe 15 bucks. I've used it I don't know how many times. You need to have one in there. Those stubborn screws, you whack on them a few times, and I mean, I whacked really hard, and it broke the rust loose. So that worked pretty well. There you go. I don't know. To me, that's kind of a poor design because it's not easy getting a screwdriver. I mean, if you look, the threads really aren't really all that rusty. I guess they are a little bit, but I mean, why would you put a screw in there instead of a nut or a bolt or something that you could really get a hold of? I don't know. Goes in the bin. So now we can work on getting the bottom part done. So the bottom part I think is the easier part. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm just doing this for show so I remember. Taking this little plastic thing off because the wire is kind of in there. So I need to get the wire out so I can get that off. Take that off. And then I also took this off. That's what the wire from the top goes in and clamps into there. I took that off so that doesn't fall out and I don't lose that. So we'll get working on the bottom. All right, so for this bottom piece, and this is why it looked easier, was there's just these hog rings holding it here. And then these little tabs, and I hope they aren't rusted so bad that I break them off. Otherwise, I'm going to have to figure out something else. But I will be as gentle as I can pulling all of these up, and hopefully they don't snap off. But, yeah, and then I should be able to pull the cover off. So we'll get working on that. All right, so that's off. Now, we've got these pieces down here. You got clips here. Clip here that holds on to those pieces and holds those down. So we'll take those off. All right, so I got all the clips off. And like I was afraid of, this one here, the tip broke off of that one. And then the tip came off of this one also. So that was only 2 of them. But man, these things are so rusty. It has got to be cleaned up. So I think the foam and everything comes off. So I'm just going to take it apart, clean it all up, rust proof it again, and then I'll put it back together. But you can see just how rusty this is down in here. I'm surprised these things just didn't fall off on their own. So we'll work on getting the rest of this ripped off. Okay. So the foam's in good shape still, like I figured that it would be. But my problem is that there's bars that go down inside here that were tucked in here. As I'm pulling it apart, there's the bar. So they completely and totally rusted out. So I am going to have to figure out something else to use. You can see it. It's just That's the bar, or what's left of it. So these seats have obviously gotten wet, but we'll get that cleaned out. We'll just have to use something else. I don't know. Maybe I can use a coat hanger or something like that. I'm thinking it's just something that you zip tie on the bottom and you draw it down and into these crevices. So the seat. So that is that off. That is the foam. I might stick that in a box and use that ozone machine. If I can find a box that I can get that in, that's a really good idea. Get the smell out of that. Because this is going to have to be reconditioned. All this rust has got to get off of here. So this is going to take a little more work. Positive, positive, positive. So next step will be working on getting this ground down and get the rust off of it and repaint it or put some rust converter on it and then paint it. I did find this in the seat. Look at it all bent up. But, yep. All right, so we're going to officially start on doing this. So I'm just going to kind of show you the before. And it's bad. We're going to use a steel brush on it. Get it cleaned up. And show you this in stages. All right, so this is it after just the wire brush. Cleaned up okay. I had one more of these little tabs break off as I was cleaning, but there's nothing I can do about that. Hopefully I'll have enough to get through and secure it down, or I'm going to have to figure out something else. But next is I'll wipe it off, maybe just blow it off, and then cover it with the rust converter and then paint it. Okay, so here it is after 2 light coats of the rust neutralizer. So that has got to sit for 24 hours before it can be top coated. So I'll do that tomorrow. And then we'll work on getting, once that dries, and we'll work on getting the seat cover on. I don't know. I mean, I guess I need to, but see, the back isn't too bad. Wondering if I try cleaning that up, but it's going to look so different than the front. I mean, that's not even going to look close, so I really need to do it. That'd be the difference. So I do need to do it, but that is where we are right now on this. Once that dries, we'll paint her up. So I did find this box is just perfect for the foam. So I took that little ozone machine I have, and I put it in there and closed it up and let it run for a couple hours. And we'll see if that helps with. All right, well, there it is, all cleaned up and painted. Not perfect, but it looks a lot better than it did. So we will start putting on the pad and the cover. I didn't paint any of that up there. I didn't want to get anything in the springs or the mechanisms or anything, so I didn't rust convert that or anything. But yeah, so these, I don't know. I think I'm going to just try to zip tie these, because I mean, obviously these little clamps that clamp these together aren't working. They completely rusted away, so I'll try to do that. But we're going to work on getting the pad out. So here was my little ozone thing, and here was my pad, and I just stuck it in there and, you know, try to get it as air fresh as possible. I don't know if it really did any good, but we'll see. Okay, so there are little pieces of metal that are supposed to go through here and through here and through here. And if you remember, they were all rusted out. So I am going to try to use wire coat hangers instead and see if we can use those to get this stuff pulled down and in. So we'll go ahead and give that a shot. All right, so what we did was we took the hangers. I took 2 hangers. I clipped from here to here on both hangers, and that fit perfectly here to here and allowed me to curl over just a little bit. And that's in there. And then I took from here to here, straightened it out a little bit, and that was perfect for this piece. So now what is next is getting zip ties through the foam, and still got stuff in there. I even vacuumed all that out. Up through here, and then through here, and then pulling these all down as we go. So that is going to be this next goal. Okay, so there they are down the sides, and then along this back here. So there were actually like little holes. I was wondering how I was going to have to get these through here, if I was going to have to cut holes. But it looks like, you know, there probably were hog rings. The things that were tied down to this were what were in here. And so I just kind of used those holes to do it. So you can see what it looks like then from the other side. So now this will go up through that loop, back down through the same hole, and then we'll attach to these. And then I'll be able to draw it down. So that is how that is going to work in theory. So we'll just do the next step, which is going to be getting the slits and everything lined up and then cut so I can get these through them. All right. So what I have done is fed those through. I cut a slit in everything. And I actually made the slit a little bit long, not just the size of that, because that way it can move back and forth depending on exactly where it needs to be. I tried to get it as close as I could, but obviously I'm going to need to reposition that. So I needed a little bit of play on these. So now I just have to feed these down back through. And I'll show you what it looks like on the opposite side then. Okay, so here's what it looks like on the other side. All these are pulled through and around that wire. And I'll get it set down on this, and then I'll get it around here. I won't tighten these down completely, but once I get it on here, I will. So what I did not show you. I actually sat there and I closed a couple of these up, and then I realized I can't do that yet. I have to wait till I get it on here so I can close it up around here so I can pull the cover down. So I had to redo a couple of them, but fairly easy, not too bad. Just a little bit of patience, and we'll get this fitted on here, get those down, and we'll get them hooked around here, and then we'll try to get the cover over. Okay, so these are all pulled nice and tight now. I used some extra ones to go across here, but if you look, it's all pulled down nice and tight into those grooves. So now it's just a matter of getting it flipped over and put onto these little things. So that'll be the next step. So just a little tip. There's a little notch right here that this fits into. This side doesn't have it. But basically this part right here slides down into there. What I did was I had pulled this tight first, and then tried to get that in, and it had pulled it really tight. So you see I got a slit here. And when I did that, this did not line up. So when you're doing this, make sure you get this in first before you pull these tight, because it kind of messed it up a little bit. And then as I was fooling with this, bending it back and forth, this one snapped. But they're enough that they're able to keep it. So, so far that's the only mistake really right there. It's that little slit. We'll just keep going. All right, next is this back flap. So I did the same thing. I did have a piece that I took out of that. It's in here somewhere, but it was kind of flimsy. So I think this will probably work a little better. So I'm going to use this, and then that comes down around the back and attaches to these as well. I've got hog pliers and hog clips. That's what was attached with it. I think I'm going to try to do that if I can. And we'll just get this last piece in, and then the bottom should be done. All right, there's the finished product. It's a little loose right there, kind of. I don't know why. It's kind of interesting. But, I mean, pretty good. I'm happy with that. It sat down real nice in those cracks right there. Yeah, I mean, there's that side, the front, and then that side. So I'm very, very happy with that. Very happy with that. So now on to the back, which I'm really bummed I got to do because it's really actually not half bad, but I got to do it, and I'm really worried about doing the back. So, because it looks like it's just a pain in the ass. But we'll get it done. All right, here we go. We're going to start on the back of one of the seats. So it looks like to start with, we're taking and bending these off and getting this up. And my guess is it'll expose probably hog clips or something that's holding this down to the frame. So we'll go ahead and get that peeled off. All right, so got those off. There is a bar, it feels like, in here. So we'll try to get that out because this isn't nearly as rusty as the bottom was. So I'm probably just going to be able to reuse this. But it looks like these go through this part as well. And then also is hog clipped here and here. Okay, so I just went ahead and ripped the stitching because, I mean, I'm replacing it anyway. So, like the bottom, this one is hog clipped in 1, 2, 3 spots along the side. 1, 2, and 3. This is the top, and then there were 3 along this side as well. Maybe 4. Yeah. So, I'm just getting those out, and that way it'll be easier to take the front off. But that was the best way to get to them. So this is really kind of what's a pain when you're putting this back on, is trying to get those zip ties and everything over the, because here's that little bar. I'll reuse what they have here if I can, but we'll get these out and then we'll get the cover off. All right, well, here's the rods. They're pretty bad, so I'm just going to replace them. I'll go get some more hangers and just replace them with that. Yeah, I'm not going to try to reuse these. I mean, like this one, you can see it's almost rusted through completely. And there you go. Just snapped. So instead of trying to salvage those, once again, cushion, good shape. So we'll get this cleaned up and put it in the box and ozone it 1 or 2 times, and then we'll work on getting the cover back on. All right, so it is out of the ozone. There's just a little bit of rust on this one. This one's not nearly as bad. So I'm just going to wire brush this, and I'll just cover this with some rust converter and then just be done with it. So that's all I'm going to do with that, and then I can go ahead and work on putting on the cover. All right, so I took the rod out of here. So this one's still in good shape, so I'll just use this one. but I do have some spare hangers for the other stuff. But that is what I'll use that. I'll go ahead and put that in. All right, so I've turned it inside out, and this is different than what came off. What came off had a place for a rod here, then a place for a rod around the top, and then a place for a rod around here. This is all one piece. So I have cut a coat hanger, but even, you know, and I cut just barely. That's all that I had left of it. Yeah. So that does not fit all the way around. So I'm going to have to think about where I want to stop that. And I'm thinking I'll probably go as far as I can, because I think it looks like it'll get around the top. At least around the top, and then I can put another one up this side. So that's, I think, what I'll do. So if you do this, make sure you curl that end, because it was getting stuck in here. So by curling that end, it slides through a lot easier. Okay, so we started bringing this down, and as you can see, I have tightened those up. Kind of gotten it down in there as best I could. And as I come down, I'm going to have to put these through and pull them down step by step as I come down. So we'll go to the next one here. All right, next one is done. So basically, I'm just getting these to where I need them to be, cutting a little slit here, putting this up through, back down, around these, and then pulling this down as I go, and just tightening these up as when I get it down as far as I can before I have to reach up in there and get it. So that's all I'm doing right now. Sorry, I forgot to film it. Once again, I got into mode. So maybe when I do the other seat, I will. But this flap has got that long piece of leather. So the bottom part of the cushion goes over these hooks first. Then this goes over this hook also. And then I hog clipped it to the wires in the back. Same with this side. And then I just pulled this side and just cut little holes just on the other side of the rod that's in there. And then just hammer them down, and they won't be going anywhere. So now there's the seat. There's a little poofy here, you know, like it's not getting all the way back to it. Now I did notice that it appeared there was some glue kind of holding this to it. So I'm wondering if that's what the difference is. But I think that came out really good. And it really was not that hard. You just take your time. It probably took me, oh, I don't know, what time is it? Took me about an hour maybe to get this part done. The only thing also is there are no holes cut for any of the stuff. So I have got to cut my own holes for all the stuff. See, like there's something kind of poking through right there. But we will we'll get those holes taken care of. But yeah, that came out pretty good. All right, so we're starting on the driver's side seat, and I ran into a problem right away. That bolt that's a screw would not come loose. I tried heat, I tried PB Blaster, I tried my impact. So in the end, I just ground off the top of it as best I could and used a pry bar and popped it off of here. You can see where I ground, and I hit it with a little bit of the grinder here. I mean, I'll just paint that. You'll never see it anyway. But what was interesting was, once I did, this came out nice and easy. So I don't know why. The only thing I could think of is it was just fused to that somehow or something. I don't know. But it would not turn. So I got that out. And it is an 8mm. It's an M8 bolt. So I've got a spare one that I'll be able to use. Hopefully it's not too long. If it is, I'll just go out and get another one. But yeah, that's what I ended up having to do on this because it just would not come off. Now this seat, you can see there's a little bit of rust, but this seat is in much better shape than that other one. And just even the backs of these, you can see these aren't even rusted. So we'll work on doing this and finish the other seat and get it looking like that one. So here's the driver's side, not nearly as in bad shape rust-wise. Foam, not quite as good. There is a big split right here, which I don't know how that would happen unless somebody cut it for some odd reason. I mean, it looks like it's almost a perfect cut. So I don't know if I can glue that back together. I'll have to figure out something for that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just clean up with the wire brush. I'll just clean up some of this rust real quick, and then I'll just spritz it with some of that rust converter, and then just leave it and go ahead and put it on. So I just put the first coat of rust converter on there. So here's the rods that were in there. I'm not going to reuse them. They're rusted. One of them was broken, so I'm just going to toss them. I'll just use my my hangers. I'll do that again. Yeah. Okay, so here's the bottom foam. This side's pretty good. This side is definitely a little weaker, especially like around here. And you can see that there's a split in it again. So I'm not sure how to kind of repair that, but I mean, you would expect this to be not nearly as nice as that. I mean, it's definitely more cushy. Just this is the driver's side seat, so I'm wondering if I can, I don't know, maybe just put some foam in there. Just get some real thin foam and just kind of layer it in there to kind of build that up a little so it's not quite as spongy. I might try that. But this, it's a little more rusty than I thought it would be. But Alexa off. It's not as bad as the passenger seat was, but it's still pretty rusty. So I will get in here and clean this up as well. All right, so while I think about that, we're going to put it in our box and put our little ozone machine in there and try to get some of the smell out. All right, so we're going to do a little rust converter on this. I might paint this one too. It's a little more rusty than I thought it was originally. We'll see how it comes out with the rust converter. But not nearly as bad as the passenger seat because none of these broke. So we'll just get this rust converter on here to start with. Driver's side seat is done. You can kind of see a little bulge out here. I just stuffed some foam that I had laying around like this. I just kind of shaped it and just stuck it in there. And the bolster's a lot. It's still a little shaky, but it's definitely a lot stiffer than it was. So there is the bottom of the driver's side. All right, there's the driver's side seat. Little wrinkles there, a couple there. Hopefully those will work out. And again, kind of puffy up here. You know, I think it was glued or something, but that's all right. But I have run into an issue, and I will show you what that is. Okay, so here's the issue. This is the bolt that came out of here. And I had to, if you remember, I ground off this head. And this part right here actually fits in the hole. So while I have a bolt that'll bolt in, it's too small for the hole. So now I've got to figure out what I'm going to do about that hole, because when the seat moves forward and backwards, it was rotating around on this, on that part. And I have a feeling that's what was stuck and rusted together and why it wouldn't turn. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Because if I were to just stick this bolt in, it would just rattle around. It wouldn't be solid. So the back of the seat would probably move forward and back and up and down. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do and see if I can somehow find a bolt or something that has that. I don't know. We'll have to think about that and figure that out. All right. Here we go. Both seats done. See, once again, there's a gap. And I looked before I put the seat together, and there wasn't one. So I don't know if it has to do with me stretching or what, or I don't know. But I don't know why there's a gap in there now. But it's on. And then I just ended up using that bolt and a washer, and it's on there fine. It doesn't rattle, and I'm able to tilt it back and forward. So, and then it's able to fold forward as well. So, all good. Both seats done.